I'm Graham Darlow. I'm the chair of the Safety Charter Steering Group, and I'm also chief executive of the construction division for Fletcher Building, which includes Fletcher Construction. So as we approach the end of 2014, it's a good time to look back at some of the great things that the Charter has done through the year. The first is the assessment tool that many of you would have participated in, so thank you very much for contributing to that. And we've learnt a lot from what you had to say. It's shown us that we have to improve, where we have to improve and where we're doing well. This week the tool is going online. The web-based version is just fantastic and much easier to use. We're looking forward to seeing the results come through on the portal. A detailed guide has also been produced to support the tool. That's been a huge piece of work, so thank you very much for those involved. We've raised awareness of the Charter significantly through the branding in June and through your networks here today. We've produced 2,500 posters. Many of them you'll see on the portaloos around Canterbury. A big thank you to Hirepool for making available those portaloos for the postage. These are backed up by the toolbox talks, which you're hearing. We're hearing a great benefit, and we've significantly updated the Safety Charter website, which you'll be able to view. If you haven't taken a look yet, please do. It now has an excellent section on improving your Charter performance, which has easy access to more than 100 WorkSafe and ACC documents. We've had 4 quarterly events just like these where more than 500 people have attended. They've focused on topics such as the new health and safety legislation and health and safety in the contracting chain. Last month at the Performance Working Group held a workshop on critical risks, and the feedback was excellent. We had 180 of you in the room for half a day learning some of the very practical and hands-on skills about managing critical risks in your work sites. WorkSafe has also held a half-day workshop on fatigue in construction back in July, after seeing that there was a really big need from the survey, and advice in this area followed the results on the self-assessment tool. All of this activity has helped us grow significantly. After the signing ceremony this afternoon, there'll be 172 signatories and endorsees, and when we launched the Charter in the middle of 2013, we started with 51, so it's been a great achievement. I'd like to congratulate all of you in the room today for your support of the Charter and your dedication to improving health and safety across your companies, your organisations and your sites. And I'd particularly like to thank those that have worked on the working groups and on the steering group, because it's through your energy and dedication that we've been able to achieve so much. So what have we actually achieved in 2015? What are we expecting in 2015? We're looking to expand on our signatories significantly over the year, and we encourage you to get your suppliers and your subbies along to sign up. We'd like, if any of your contractors and subbies in the industry aren't involved, then please encourage them to do so. The steering group has today signed off on plans for each of the 3 working groups for next year. There's some exciting stuff planned, particularly around leadership. This year, the Leadership Working Group has worked alongside SiteSafe on a report on leadership, and we've seen the draft of this. It's very, very good. This will drive a lot of the activity for next year, including a tool to be used across all aspects of your business. We'll also be expanding the critical risk poster and toolbox talk campaign with new topics in February, so go into your portaloos and see what the new topics are for next year. We'll be holding more of these evening events as well as practical workshops and helping everybody to improve their Charter performance. I'd just like to make some special acknowledgements. Firstly, to WorkSafe New Zealand. Without them, we wouldn't be where we are. Since the Charter began in 2013, WorkSafe has funded at least $140,000 worth of charter work, including the self-assessment tool, the leadership report, posters and stickers to raise brand awareness, and the critical risks campaign. As well as this, they have cooperated with each of the quarterly events and funded the critical risks workshop and the fatigue workshop. And I'd particularly like to thank, because WorkSafe provides us with the secretariat, so they're the ones that organise everything and organise the meetings and organise this afternoon. So a particular thanks to Craig Senglow, Kate Wright and Jess, who's provided the secretariat, and the special energy and dedication of Catherine Heiler. Thank you very much to those people. ACC has also funded a significant part of the charter, more than $70,000 in communication costs, including the fantastic safety charter video that we produced earlier this year. So thank you to ACC. Look, I'd like to pay a special thank you to one person that is leaving us, Duncan Gibb, who has been the Alliance Manager on the SCIRT project, but also chair of our Performance Working Group. Many of you in this room know Duncan. There are a few that don't. And I don't have to say how passionate he is as a safety advocate. Duncan is returning to Australia next year, or at the end of this year, so before he goes, I'd like to publicly acknowledge his tremendous work that he's done for the Charter. It's just been fantastic. Thank you very much, Duncan. You've been great to have on the steering group and on the working groups. It'll be a loss to all of us, including all the people in Canterbury. Duncan's made a real difference. He's driven performance through SCIRT and had a big impact on the Safety Charter. So can we please give a big round of applause to Duncan. I'd like to now introduce the Chief Executive of WorkSafe New Zealand, Gordon MacDonald. Gordon has been with us 5 or 6 months, is it that long? 10 months, I should know better. Since you've been here, Gordon, I've noticed a big difference in the approach of WorkSafe New Zealand, and I know it's got a new name, but it was always the same old organisation for me until you arrived. So, and much more of a proactive, multi-service organisation rather than just the enforcer. Thank you very much, Gordon.
Thanks, Graham, and good evening, everybody. Actually, it's 9 months that I've been in the organisation. I was just working it out, and in the country. Great to be here with you this evening. I spent the afternoon with the steering group, and hugely impressed by the effort that's going on here, grappling with issues of leadership, of risk management, of worker engagement, the key themes, I think, of health and safety in New Zealand as we move forward, recognising that this is a job that industry has to take control of and take responsibility for, working alongside the regulator with the CTU sitting at the table. If we could lift up that approach and transplant it across the country, I think we'd be well on our way to reducing serious harms in New Zealand by 25% in 2020, which is the mission that WorkSafe has been set. So WorkSafe, here we are, 8 days off our first birthday. So before I get onto the main business, which is to introduce the new signatories to the Safety Charter, let me just say a few words, and they will be few, about WorkSafe and how we're setting our stall out to be the regulator of the future. You're aware of the backstory as to why we're here, not just the 29 deaths at Pike River, but the general proposition that workplace health and safety is not good enough. The stats tell us it's not good enough by comparison with countries that it would look to, Australia, Canada, the UK, that it will want to compare itself with. So we've got to do something better and different. Safety Charter is better and different. WorkSafe, as an independent Crown agency regulator, hopefully is going to be better and different, and you've seen that. So what are we about? First of all, we're targeting key risks. We're focusing on the serious stuff. Risk is a part of life. It exists everywhere. There's thousands of them. You can't avoid them. You can manage them down, and you should be focusing and concentrating on the stuff that causes the serious harm. So we're going to be concentrating on forestry, on agriculture, on manufacturing and construction as the sectors that present the serious harm. Focusing also on occupational health. So let me land this point. 75 people a year die in accidents, on average, in New Zealand. 600 to 900 people die prematurely from occupational ill health. We've got to redress that balance and give focus to the longer term, sometimes more difficult to see, spot and control occupational health risks as we do the safety stuff. Number 2 on this list is absolutely critical to us, working collaboratively. So this is the safety charter stuff. It's working with the trade unions. It's working with the Business Leaders Health and Safety Forum. It's working with trade association. It's landing the point that actually the people who create the risk are the people who should be controlling that risk. So let's work with and through those people to influence the change that we need. So some people, when I mention that, say, oh, right, so we're not going to see any more of the nasty WorkSafe, are we? The WorkSafe that comes along and prosecutes people. Well, you are. We're going to be doing that too. And again, Christchurch seems to me to be a great example of this. We work collaboratively with those industries around the table as we've been doing this afternoon, but we've got inspectors out there holding people to account as they should to enforce the law that exists. Because the Parliament, society has said that certain behaviours are no longer acceptable, so we're there to make sure that that is put right. Number 3 on the list is why we're here. There is a particular focus that we will give to rebuilding Canterbury safely for now and for some time to come. Working smarter is, and I will mention the legislation briefly in a minute, it's not just about having the law in place that sets clear expectations. It's having the stuff that sits underneath it and supports it. It's having clear guidance that people can follow. My bet is that not many of you wake up in the morning and you consult the law to tell you what to do during the day. You might occasionally consult guidance, the plain English guide to what to do in certain situations. So we need to develop that alongside the regulations. We need to be working on competence, on building the skills around risk management in the workforce and in the leadership of organisations. We need all these elements to be working together to produce a smart regime. And we need to be strengthening our organisation, building ourselves up. 12 months ago we were 300 strong, today we're 500 strong, but building capability within the organisation that didn't exist before. Operational intelligence capability, research and evaluation capability, supporting our inspectors with training and tools and techniques to make them effective in their workplace activities. And this is just a little slide about the sort of organisation that we want to become, not ditching everything on one side to move over to everything on the other. However, this will be a journey more in the direction of these things. We will be doing reactive stuff, responding to incidents, but we have to be working mainly in proactive, preventative work. That's the stuff that's going to stop people being killed, injured, and suffering ill health. So that's where the focus of our resources has to be. When we do investigate incidents, we have to be looking, and you can play this back into your own organisations, not just at isolated examples of incidents and what can we do to stop them, but what are the trends? What are the patterns? What's this revealing to us about risk that we can use to inform our practices and our behaviour? And we'll be playing back that information to you so that you can learn from people's broader experience. We need to be moving from outputs to outcomes. What do I mean by that? I mean, in a WorkSafe context, we could describe our agriculture programme as 5,000 visits annually to farms. Is that a good thing or is it a bad thing? It's just an activity count. What we're actually doing is saying we are now developing a 3 to 5 year programme for how we intervene in agriculture that has a communication strand, that has a collaboration strand, that has an inspection strand, that has a working in partnership through the supply chain strand. And it's a combination of all those things that will deliver something fundamental and something sustainable by way of change. Instead of going around to premises and sticking plasters on hazards, so instead of going around and saying, put that scaffold board right or that edge protection right, get that excavation shored up, or whatever it might be, we need to be asking ourselves the questions, why is it like that in the first place? What is it about the organisation that we're observing that has led to this problem? 3 why questions. Why? Is it because of the supervision? Is it because of the training? Is it because of the competence? Is it because of the leadership? Ask why about 3 times, you get to a root cause. And if you tackle it at the level of the root cause, you achieve some gearing effect for your efforts. That's what we'll be doing as an organisation. And being led by the intelligence, using the stuff that we've got, stuff either individually as organisations, but I think one of the great benefits of safety charters type of work is to pool information and resources so that everybody can learn from each other's experience. And then we've got the Act. When have we got the Act? 3rd quarter of next year is the best estimate. That's what the Minister has committed to delivering. That's when actually it will come into force. So you've had sessions on the legislation before. I'm not going to go through that. I'm just going to mention 3 issues which it strikes me as fairly central to the legislation that we should be focusing on. The first is the new concept of the, terribly named, but here it is, and it's not going to change now, person conducting a business or undertaking, the fundamental entity that is responsible in this workplace environment. The key thing for me, though, is that the PCBU concept recognises the complexity of modern life. It recognises that an employment situation is not just consisting of an employer and an employee. It consists of a principal, a contractor, a subcontractor to a subcontractor. It consists of a designer, a manufacturer, a supplier, an installer, a disposer of stuff. So there are lots of relationships. And what this law says is that if you're in that relationship chain, if I'm a principal and Graham is my contractor, I cannot lob over the fence my health and safety responsibilities at him and say it's all yours. I have to make that active inquiry about whether he's got the capacity to manage health and safety, and I do need to do something subsequently to make sure that he's delivering on those obligations. And that for me is key, because moving down the food chain from the big organisations at the top of the food chain to the small 3, 4, 5 person SMEs at the bottom, and getting that influence extended down that chain is going to be one of the keys to unlocking better health and safety performance here. The second element I'd mention is, because it starts with leadership, is the new diligence clause for senior officers of companies, largely directors on boards, so that they cannot say, hear no evil, see no evil, smell no evil. They must be actively engaged and proactively engaged in making sure that they understand the risk profile of their organisations and they have information which tells them about whether it's working or not, and they do something about it. The third element, which I think is a key ingredient, worker engagement. If there are 3 ingredients to successful health and safety, for me they are leadership at the top, sets the policy, the resources, the approach, sets the tone. Worker engagement is the other dimension to it, bringing people in so it's done with, not to. They are the eyes and ears. They're the beneficiaries of health and safety when it works well. They pay the price when it doesn't, so they have to be involved in the process fundamentally. And then the middle bit is competence. Having the skills and the knowledge to deliver effective risk management. That is why I was so pleased to hear at the steering group the focus on leadership, on risk management, on worker engagement, because I think those are the 3 key themes that will deliver some improved health and safety performance. So coming to a place near you soon, probably the 3rd quarter, but none of those concepts, I would suggest, are going to be radically new for you, and there is no reason not to be thinking about them deeply and doing something about planning for the implementation of this legislation now. Right. That's me done, other than to do the important bit, which is to welcome new signatories. One of the features that of the whole process, I think Graham mentioned that when you had your first workshop here some time ago, there were 50 people present. Now it's 200 and odd. Likewise, the number of signatories to the Safety Charter continues to grow at an incredibly healthy rate. So, thanks to all the organisations who've made the commitment to this Safety Charter. I think it all starts with commitment. It doesn't end with that. It ends with meaningful, purposeful action that delivers results. But without the commitment, you can't get to that point. So for all those who've made that, a huge thank you. Let me ask them to come forward and officially sign the Charter. So if when I shout your name out, you come up, I'll be ever so grateful. So can we start with Darcy Britliff from Cardno? Let's give them a round of applause. Robert Gibbs from Dominion Construction. Chris Elkington from GMK Builders. Graham Allen from Cladtex Painting Limited. Terry Welsh from TWC Contracting Limited. Who also gets the award for the cheesiest smile of the night. Tui Isaacson from Synergene Group Limited. Stu Gordon from Maiden Group Limited. John Southworth from KGA Geotechnical Investigations Limited. Glenn Murdoch from Vicus Design Group. Chris England from Asbestos Removals Limited. Brian Daly from Shilton and Brown Demolition. Brian Warren from the Isaac Construction Company Limited. Des Miller from Des Miller Construction. James Kirkpatrick from Waterproofing Concepts Limited. Matt Derry from Seismic Limited. Scott Brittenden from Cover Staff. James Woods from Image Design and Build Limited. John Manson from Structural Support and Panels New Zealand Limited. Dave McSorley from Max Contracts. Brett Russell from Russell Property Group. Kane Miller from Freycinet Australia. And Gerard Rooney from Select Recruitment. And as well as the new signatories, there are also 3 new endorsees to the Safety Charter. They are Climate Control Companies Association, U Group Limited, and OHS Consultants. So can we have a round of applause, please, for recognition of their efforts. Right, so I'd now like to hand over to Rob Sloan from Genuine Homes and the chair of the Leadership Working Group to introduce New Zealand's Apprentice of the Year.
Thanks, Gordon. An opportunity I have, being part of the Rydges Master Builders, is for the last few years, has been invited to be the regional judge for the Central South Island Apprentice of the Year. And this is run every year in association with Carter's, and it's supported by BCITO and MB and ACC. And this year in the Central South Island region, we had 24 applicants to the competition, and the standard of these young people coming through gets higher and higher every year. And part of our process is bringing that down to 10 finalists, and out of that finalists we have a top 3 and then a winner. And it's a real pleasure to introduce the winner of the Central South Island region, Tom Southern, here today. Tom really impressed us, and myself and the co-judges, not only with his ability and his knowledge in construction and carpentry, and not only about his attitude to work. He impressed us in his knowledge in health and safety. And Tom wasn't alone in that. This knowledge went right through these 10 top candidates, as it did the whole 24. And it's really excellent to see that in the young people in our industry. And a lot of these fellas and young ladies were actually leading the health and safety activities on their site. And they brought with them knowledge, and it's great to see that education starting with them in their apprenticeship and coming right through, and they're demonstrating great leadership. Tom then went on to the Nationals, where he competed against 9 other people, and it's quite an exhaustive 2 days. It's run along similar lines to the Young Farmer of the Year competition a lot of you will be familiar with. So there was a real good solid day of theory, and then the next day they had a set of practical, and this was done up in the cloud down at the viaduct in front of all the public and everybody else. So these young guys were challenged to build a wooden playhouse that had many facets of construction in it. And so the pressure was on. They had to take and interpret the plans and then finish this project within a time-bound expectation. And the great news for us locally was Tom won. Tom became the national champ. And so Tom's going to share a wee bit of that experience with us today and talk about how important health and safety is to him and his employers. So welcome along, Tom. It's great to have you here. Come on up.
Please excuse the cheesy grin. Thanks, Rob, for the introduction. As Rob mentioned, my name is Tom and I work for a growing company called Farm Build. This year I had the pleasure in competing in the Master Builders Apprentice of the Year competition. The competition brings together like-minded people involved in the construction industry, along with putting apprentices like myself through the paces from interviews, industry knowledge, practical knowledge and workmanship. A brief insight as to what I've been through to get to this point. The first step in the competition was to submit a project I had been involved with, and I chose to present a woolshed that I ran for my first job, as I felt it showed a wide range of carpentry skills. From here, the regional judges, Rob, Tom from BCITO and Steve from Carter's, grilled us in an interview and an on-site visit to question us further. Up to Nationals in Auckland from here, where we had another 45-minute interview and a 5-hour practical situated in the cloud. This was open to the public to come and watch, as 9 finalists from around New Zealand constructed children's playhouses, which would then be donated to charities. Working along 9 other top apprentices, the public, the judges, and a 5-hour time limit was much harder than I ever expected. Throughout this time, one of my main goals was to show how important health and safety was to myself, my workmates, and farm build. The construction industry is becoming more and more professional than ever before, and with this being the case, I felt I needed to show the judges how I carried out my days with health and safety in mind. In a week-to-week running of our sites, often in the mornings combining the day's tasks or plan of attack with what we needed to consider to be safe to achieve this. Spending 10 minutes in the morning with the boys sharing ideas and taking turns to document the discussion, we've realised it saves time at the other end and makes planning ahead so much easier. I'm sure some of you are sitting out there thinking that you have some pretty sharp apprentices in your team of your own. So when the opportunity arises next year, please encourage them and go for it. They will not only learn more about the industry like I have, but make many new friends along the way and gain great experience and have plenty of fun. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much, Tom. I'm sure many of you can see why Tom took out the Apprentice of the Year, and would like to congratulate you once again, Tom. Well done.